Eta, it's another week, and you know what it is when we're chilling on our famous brown couches. It's another conversation with one of the best to ever do it in South African football, be it a player, be it an administrator, be it a coach. We never know really who it is until I tell you who it is. But this week, all I'm going to say to you about this legend is that they are the only known South African defender to wear the number 9 jersey. Like, I didn't know it was possible until then. But another thing that you may be happy to know if you're, a Kate or a Mo, is that he doesn't like Erik ten Hag. So this jersey that I'm wearing right now, it's not sitting comfortably yet. Yeah, I'm chilling in the company of one of the most iconic faces, one of the most iconic names in South African football. It is the man that led South Africa to their one and only continental title, the Africa Cup of Nations in 1996. Neil Tovey. Neil, thank you so much for making the time to come and hang out with us. Really, it's a true honor.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's been great. We had a little chat earlier, but yeah, we'll continue.
It will continue indeed. I mean, Neil, just, how've things been? I mean, you've taken a step back from football, you've taken a step back from the administrative side of it as well. Just what has life been like for Neil?
Yeah, not willingly. Yeah. I still want to be involved. I'm doing a program with Doc, where I do coaching of the coaches. It's for the schools program. So where we go into different phases and take them through what it is to be a coach and the expectancies of coaching in the game. And they're school teachers, which is great. They take it back to the kids at the school. And then they're better equipped. Yeah. We equip them with clothing and balls and that, and they take it back. And then they run their programs, and we use other professionals alike, Shakes and Gwenya, and they like to go in and to check that they're doing the job at the school level, and which is great because we kind of give them an inclination into a professional coach, and then to come in at their level with under 12s, under 13s, whatever they're coaching, and they just want the knowledge that we give them, and that's absolutely superb.
Where is Neil Tovey more useful? As an administrator, you've tasted technical directorship at SAFA. As a coach, you've tasted glory with Mamelodi Sundowns, or as somebody that imparts their wisdom for the junior levels to strengthen, or maybe even like you're doing now, where you're coaching the coaches.
I like all different angles to the game, but I think with me, where I am at the moment, and that technical director itself gave me a little bit of inclination into it. I think imparting knowledge back into the game, whether it's at professional level, and coaches having the confidence in me to say, Neil, what do you think? What do you think about this situation? Watch, analyze games, and say, okay, well, where are we going? What we're not doing correctly. So from that level, I'd love to help the teams, notably in Durban. I live in Durban; it's so much easier. But also in the programs that I'm busy with now, with Doc and my brother's son Quinton, and giving back to the coaches, junior level, and that. So I think there's a lot of synergy in all levels.
Is there an interest in coaching as opposed to being a professional player? And I ask this question when you look at someone like Rulane Mokwena. He's never been known as a professional footballer, but he's one of the greatest brains of football in this country that this country has produced and is now exported, and he's not even 40 years old yet. Are you finding there to be more Rulane Mokwenas, young guys that just want to pop into coaching without playing?
Yeah, without doubt. There's a lot of them that just want to be exposed, and when we have these discussions and through the different phases of coaching, what it is to be a coach, they just want to take that knowledge in, and the knowledge to know, how do I get from this youth coach into being a professional coach, and they're hungry for the knowledge.
Diego Maradona was one of the greatest footballers to ever live, and he became a coach. But his legacy as a coach is not one that many would want to remember. There is this idea, there's always been historically this idea, Neil, that, to be a great coach, you need to have played the game. So you'll have a Diego Maradona, but then you'll also have a Zinedine Zidane, who's got, Champions Leagues back to back to back. Do you have to have played the game, to have been on the field, to understand football?
I think to a certain degree, yes. certainly at the professional level, not to maybe coach at a youth level. No, I think most coaches have played at some form of the level in their lives before. I don't think they totally haven't played the game. Maybe speaking about playing at the professional, ultimate level, I think it helps because then you understand and the thought processes of what the player is going through as well, how he's thinking at different moments, the whole periodization of the season, the busy stages and what the player is going through from a physical to a mental aspect. So I think it is important, but it's not the be and end all, But I think that you'll look at most top coaches, they've played the game at the highest level before.
Would you go back to coaching?
I love it.
Do you feel like you didn't finish?
I didn't finish. I mean, when I did my pro license, and there's a lot of us on the course, Doc, all of us were on the course. I achieved really, really good results. In fact, I think I was one of the highest on level at the course. Had a stint in it, and then was taken quickly to become technical director at SAFA. And I think it took me that because of the results of that pro license. And then coming out of that, we went into COVID. Coming out of that, and I still feel that there was a lot of me that hadn't fulfilled what I could do on the coaching field. And I mean, I was at AmaZulu, and they achieved their best results they had in 17 years. Got fired. But that's a life of a coach. At Sundowns too, we won the league, got them back on to winning leagues again. They had a bit of a drought before then. So, on the field is always great. I love it.
Club or national teams? Because I know now, Coach Pito says he now wants national team.
There's those coaches that love the daily routines of club football, which I kind of do as well. National teams, you especially in our country, you don't always get the full quota of players. Certainly at junior levels. So it's tough. It's tough for our junior national coaches. But in any way, because I can feel I can give it back at any level. Put it that way, in the local league or at national level, because obviously I played the game there as well.
Again, just like with coaching, I'm going to ask if you feel that you fulfilled your mandate as the technical director at SAFA, and what exactly was your mandate? What were you supposed to help the South African football do?
I must say that I don't feel satisfied with what I'd done. But then again, it suddenly came to abrupt. I finished my term, 5 years. But having said that, the national team in those 5 years that I was there, and I don't say I was a factor because of their success, but I think I certainly helped contribute to the success. The under-17s went to the World Cup. The under-20s had 2 World Cup stints. The women went to won the AFCON and then competed in World Cups. And I feel that there was a lot of success in that period. But I think my biggest success in that period was putting together technical directors, 2 of them in each of the provinces. Now, you asked the question why, and that was, I know it was a man and a woman. So I had 18 technical directors underneath me, where they would then look at the programs, look at the football within the provinces, and they were only in place for 2 years, and they were asked to stop for financial reasons after just 2 years on the job, and I feel that there was such a huge chance for soccer in this country to really get back on track. One, from schools football, courses that were going to be produced by these technical directors in each of the provinces and regions, and making sure that football was getting played, because in some of the regions there weren't any leagues even getting played. So their whole job was to go and do an analysis, which they had just got got through that analysis of each of the provincial situations, and it was then to start implementing the programs. And Sunny was brought to a complete halt. But then there was COVID after that. That wasn't the excuse, COVID, for that. And I feel that there's still a lot that can be achieved there, because if you look at other sports in cricket and rugby, they have a pathway.
Yeah.
They have a pathway, and that's why you get the likes of Rabada coming through in the cricket, and there's just abundance of talent. And I think only Gauteng, is, to a certain extent, has really got that from a football perspective in a good place because of the Gauteng Development League. But the rest of the country don't have enough high competitive football from academies or to the elite level age groups, if I can term it that. And just say a Virginia United from a club level playing against a Cape Town City and going and playing around, or a school like a Northlands, Westville in Durban, going and play at Bishops or Gray's College in Bloem, and have high caliber academies put in place, playing each other regularly at the highest level. And then you'll have the top echelons of players being developed, and bursaries being given to these scholars. And then you'll see the recruitment, because one, they're getting good education coupled with good football and good education from a coaching perspective in football. And until that gets done, you're going to be really, really behind the 8 ball.
There's clearly a balance in where South African football is. The primary question I want to ask you is, are we on the right track to get South African football to where it used to be? But I'm going to ask it from a point of, you're talking about the schools of excellence, you're talking about, school football not being where it needs to be. But then you look at, then you don't have your Nations League, your under-12s, who at one point South Africa was one of the best in the world. Yeah. But then you've got under-17s who've gone to the World Cup, under-20s who've gone to the World Cup. Yeah. But then you don't have an under-23 team that's competing in the Olympics. On the women's side, you're looking at the junior structures coming through, but you don't have a professional league. So there's an imbalance. Some successes are happening, but you're looking at where those successes being fed from, and it's not a healthy enough ground. Is South African football on the right path as it stands? When you look at where Bafana now are this year and where Banyana have been in the last 5, 6, 7 years, are we at least are we doing something right? Have you guys done something right?
Well, that shows you what talent we have in this country. What our capability, where we can get to, back to number 16 in the world, we can do it. But we just don't have that, that pathway for football in this country. If you ask a talented 13-year-old football player, like I was at my school, where are you going in football? He won't be able to tell you. Where do you want? You'll immediately say, I want to go overseas. He will not say, I want to play for Amazulu, under 13s, under 15s, or Kaizer Chiefs. You want to go directly to Portugal or to Belgium or something overseas at this stage. And that is sad. They should have aspirations to go play for a Pirates, a Chiefs, Amazulu, Sundowns, and then develop through pathways alike. And that is where it's so sad, that identification. They identify themselves with overseas clubs, not local clubs, and that's a sad way. So the success that we have had, as you mentioned, in those various age groups, has come about through the talent that we have. But if you had more pathways, you could double that talent. Double that talent could compete with any other nation in the world, and quite easily.
Is SAFA doing enough though? Post you, because it's you've already highlighted some of the successes which I think all South Africans were there to witness, but post you, and what work and foundations you would have put in place, is it on an upward trajectory, SAFA?
Well, I feel there was talk of things happening, but I haven't seen things happen. I haven't seen it gone and taken what we created. I still think that model was there for replication, to go out and carry it out and to set it up and to have it done. Not enough courses are being held. Okay, that came from CAF changed the whole sequence of the coaching courses, and rightly so. But now there should be more evidence of those courses happening. Don't want to be overcritical, but yeah, I think they've got to grab schools football by the scruff of them.
Are you finding, Neil, that there's just been too much focus on leadership squabbles and governance issues, and that we're too worried about positions and being the leader?
Totally.
That we're not focusing on the 13-year-old.
Totally. You want, as I've reiterated, you want that 13-year-old to say, I have a pathway.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that.
He's been there for more than 10 years now. Have us as the media misrepresented Danny Jordaan as the leader of South African football? Or was he at times genuinely a difficult person to work with?
I never had any problems working with Danny, to be honest. As a technical director, I did not have any problems working with Danny. And I've got to be honest, I was left alone to do what I needed to do. And every now and again, he would call me up and say, okay, where are things going? And they were supportive of that program that I spoke about, the technical directors. Unfortunately, they said there was no more finance available for it. But I never had, to answer your questions, I never had any problems with Danny at all with regards to the support over the years of getting my job done. The only areas where we could not get the job on was from a financial perspective.
It's always been a question that we've asked. It's always been a cry that we've heard. Former footballers, legendary footballers, have always said, we are here to assist. We are here to share our experience as representatives of this country and help strengthen this game. In that very chair you're sitting in, Neil, I had Portia Modise who had said, I just talk too much. So SAFA doesn't like people that talk as much as I do and hold them accountable at times. Do you find that a lot of former footballers are not in the administrative structures because some of you guys are just too loud and you really call SAFA out and they kind of maybe feel like you used to represent your country. Why are you speaking ill of your country now?
There is that talk. I believe there is a certain place for Lucas, for Mark Fishers, the Porsches, and that to give back to the game and former footballers to get back to the game. I think there needs to be a whole scenario where they be brought together and to say, okay, where they can assist and where we'd like to assist, because everybody has their strengths.
Yeah.
They're not going to all be able to coach. They're not going to, but from an administration point of view, certainly come in there and help. And structures down and working with coaches, working with national teams, with the players at various age groups to say, okay, guys, what are you thinking mentally at this stage in the competition? And so there's loads of platforms where former players can certainly add their value. Not just coming in there and expecting a handout.
Yeah.
There's two scenarios to it. Come in and work and offer your excellence, if I can term it that. And that would be great for South African football.
28 years after you lifted that trophy at the FNB Stadium, where is the state of football according to the AFCON winning captain today?
Our league, our professional league, and I know these questions have been asked time and time again, good and bad has come out of the dominance of Mamelodi Sundowns. And I say why. Obviously, you can't stop a club from being dominant in terms of, yes, they have the finances, but with the finances come the problems.
Yeah.
It's not just a smooth ride because you have finances. So they've managed their club very, very, very well. You don't get success if you don't manage, because there's egos and that happen with professional footballers.
Yeah.
Having said that, the other side of it, the Chiefs, the Pirates, the SuperSport United, Stellenbosch's, all the teams, whatever you want to name, would love to have those 20 players that are sitting in the stands. South African football would love to have those other 20 players sitting in the stands that are twiddling their thumbs in their teams to make the league a stronger league. And it wouldn't be a runaway Sundowns then. And that's, so on the one hand, they say, yeah, we need a large squad for Africa. Yes, you do, but it's manageable. You can't have too many. You can't manage too many. You can't coach too many. You can't coach 35, 40 players. Where are you going to be able to coach them at any given time? I think the league's got to come up with a plan to regulate the number of players in each club. And until that happens, I think you're going to get the total quality of a player sitting in the stands. Those players could even be playing for Bafana and strengthening Bafana week in, week out. So, yeah.
But, we come back to the financial part of it, Neil, is a Polokwane City, a Chippa United, some of these teams, Amakesi FC, who've just come in from the Motsepa Foundation Championship, they don't necessarily have the money that some of these players have become accustomed to from a salary point of view. So they might want to get that game time, but they don't want to get a game time at Amakesi. That's not going to give them the salary that they've become accustomed to.
I fully understand that, but I'm sure the likes of, there's not enough of them to go around in every team. But there's certainly enough of them to go around with the teams that are capable of paying some portion of that salary. And if you ask those guys that are sitting in the stands, yes, they've now financially sorted families out and things like that. But if you ask them now, I don't think they would want to sit in the stands. Their career's going backwards. They've got nothing. Nothing's happening with them. So, the likes of the Mgezis and Chippers and that, they've got to come from a foundation of a good infrastructure of youth teams. Have good youth teams.
Yeah.
Supersport United have a great youth team. Supersport United don't spend millions of rands on players. They're a selling club. They financially make themselves financially secure in that way. So there's a lot of potential to do that. Find and identify the youth coaches that are top youth coaches, identify the talent, run them through the talent within your structure, and you'll be unearthing talent all the time. Then you'll be making the money to get them through the channels and get them to the clubs. This works like that in every single league in the world, not just South Africa.
And on that, are you finding then maybe that what Hugo Bros is doing, by not focusing only on Sundowns, Chiefs, Pirates, SuperSport, Cape Town City, teams that have that financial muscle, on getting players for Bafana Bafana, that it's maybe even allowing some other players to say, I won't leave Polokwane City. Osuna Polis is from Polokwane City and he's now a regular at Bafana Bafana. You've got a Bradley Cross that I think comes from a Golden Arrows. He's getting called up to the Bafana Bafana squad. It's no longer a thing of like, if you're not playing in Europe or you're not playing for the big three, then you're never going to get into Bafana Bafana. Do you feel that Hugo Bros is doing an amazing thing with encouraging the so-called minnow teams to keep producing this talent?
100%. 100%. And I've never really thought that it had to be the big three to play for to get to Bafana Bafana. No. I mean, if you're doing enough work, the coaches will recognize you. If you're doing enough good work for whatever team they're talking about, the Amazulus, the Polokwane Cities, Stellenbosch's, whatever, the so-called not in the big threes or whatever. If you're doing enough good work there, they cannot not notice you. Don't use it as an excuse. Work harder.
Shakes Mashaba also sat in that chair. I love some of the people I've spoken to, Neil, because football guests are always just, off the cuff with their responses. He said, Bafana Bafana, it's not going to be even more than 10 years from now that they will be strong enough to contend for a World Cup. This is the same Shakes Mashaba who used to say, if you don't dominate COSAFA, you'll never be able to dominate AFCON, which means you'll never then be able to share a table with the big boys at a World Cup. But then he's now of the belief that we are on such a great track as the national team that why can't we become a Morocco as what they did in Qatar and compete for the World Cup?
No, we can. We certainly can. I think we on a better level playing wise, because I've seen some not ever doubting the playing capability of Bafana. It's the mental capacity of Bafana in the past. And I think they're much better in that capacity now than they've ever been. And I think they have that better belief in themselves. I saw that against South Sudan. That they have that opportunity now to go on and achieve results out of the blue, and that's what Morocco did. They have the capability. They not international football. There's not a huge difference between that. It sometimes turns into a situation, a mental capacity on the field at a certain given time.
Yeah,
how are you going to manage that game in a certain time in the game? That's where the maturity comes in, not the ability of one against one of each of the players. It's that mental capability at a certain time in the game where you're up against it. Okay, guys, how are we going to rally back when we're up against it? How are we going to come together like the Boxer done?
Yeah.
At times when they felt, gee, we are down and out. Excuse me. So it's at those times in hardship you got to come through. Not in times when everything's going nicely for you. And I've seen a better Bafana in that regard.
You talk about hardship. I don't think South African football lovers will recognize that with anybody else but your generation, the 1996 boys, because you speak of that 13-year-old boy who knew at the time that he was a talented footballer, which I would imagine it was then where you decided that this has to be my life. I have to show this talent, this God-given talent. What mental hardships did Neil Tovey have to overcome at a time when South Africa was unstable? We looked as though we were on the cusp of a civil war.
Yeah.
And you had a football career you wanted to build and to feed into. What was your mental strength like at that time, your mental fortitude at that time when we're fighting for democracy, you're fighting for a football career?
Yeah, it was, in those days, my career has been blessed. I played in the days when it was apartheid, where I played with Durban City, where we traveled with Rodney Charles and Moffat Zuma into Bloemfontein in the heart of apartheid, and having to smuggle him into a hotel the night before again, things like that, which made us come out with more inner strength to do well. And see the other side. I was traveling into townships in those days where my fellow human beings around me, youngsters with me, and young, they were saying, "What the hell are you doing?" And I say, "No, I love this game so much." And I was also blessed with having a brother, Mark, 7 years my senior, playing also professional football. So it gave me the encouragement and the drive to become like him. I mean, and wanting to play for at that stage, because we didn't have international football.
Yeah.
These youngsters are blessed now with the international opportunities that they've got. We just had to. My belief was I wanted to play for Kaizer Chiefs, the best and the biggest club in this country, most successful club in the country. That was my drive. And that's where watching my brother play against them in my early days, and then for Durban City playing against them, and then AmaZulu playing against them, and then I had the greatest opportunity to play for me at that stage, the biggest and most successful club in the country, and to captain them.
What made you think you deserved the seat at the table? What made you think you deserved to, firstly, have a football career? Football in this country has always been considered to be a black sport. What made you think that you deserved to be there?
I didn't ever think I deserved anything. I was going to work hard for it. I was blessed to have a like you say, I had provincial colours and national colours for other sports, but football being my first love, and I didn't ever think I was deserved it. I just kept working hard, and I knew I had a talent, because through all the age groups, my junior age groups, I was captaining teams and having that opportunity to play in tournaments and then come through the youth structures of Durban City and learning from really good professional footballers. And that was where I was blessed. The discipline, learning from disciplined footballers at a young age. I don't think the opportunity the youngsters get now are are in that same type of environment where senior professionals got on top of you. You did not do the right things, even at training. They hammered you. They didn't just kick you at training. They gave you a tight clap. And that's missing out of the environment now, that dedication to be better. And that's when I was at Chiefs and I took under my wings the Tabang Labisi's, the Tabuborkis and all that. And I said, Tabang, you come right here. You run with me right here. And I'm in front. You work with me in front. You learn from me in front. You learn the good habits. You're asked to do 30 sit-ups, you will do 32, 33. You'll do more.
Yeah.
Because other players are doing less. And when you do more, you become better, you become stronger, you become mentally good. And that's the understanding of that environment to which I grew up as a young professional, to take them through, because I missed out that opportunity through choice, I suppose, or not, whatever. I was in my later years when I played for Kaizer Chiefs. So all the likes of the Lucases, the Fani Medidas, Doctor for a while, Ace Kuzis, Steve Compelas, all going overseas. Okay? Whereas then I was left with these young, upcoming, talented, really talented players.
Yeah.
And they had to be taught the correct way, because now suddenly it wasn't that influx of all these other senior professionals around them, was basically myself to bring them up, and make them learn, and they appreciated it. And that's what's needed in the game as well. Good. I see sometimes things happening on the field. I think that's not good discipline.
Yeah. Before we keep talking about Kaizer Chiefs, Neil, take me back to that call you got from Kaizer Motaung Senior to say to you, here's the dream that you've always had, to come and wear the black and gold.
Yeah, it was quite. If I take you back a year earlier, and my brother was playing for Chiefs. Okay. I was finishing up with Amazulu, or not finishing up, I was at Amazulu and enjoying some really good season with Amazulu Club. And in 2 weekends we beat Kaizer Chiefs 3-0 and 5-1 in Durban. And who does that, And had the blessing of really going out of a Durban city to an Amazulu traditional team, having the experiences of everything that went with the traditional Zulu team.
Yeah.
And gone through that, and now said, I need to take the next step. I need to go into a higher level. Mark didn't really know at one stage. Jomo, Sundowns, Swallows approached.
Yeah.
Mark. And I should have maybe told him, but I didn't really tell him at one stage. And they were all after me.
Yeah.
And fortunately, Amazulu weren't in 1989, they went through that infighting again.
Yes.
They just come out of it, and it's potentially such a good club. They can go places with that supporters that they have, and the traditional entity of that club.
Yeah.
But they were having this infighting with the owners and that. And I said, no, maybe it's a time for me to move to Johannesburg, to one of the so-called bigger clubs. And then, so there was 1 or 2 of the clubs were starting to make contact. And suddenly Mark heard, I don't know where he heard from, out of the blue, and said, because that year in 89, Jeff Butler was their coach. Okay. And he had already spoken to Mark about what is the potential of your brother coming to Chiefs. And Mark said, yeah, no, fine. I just have to have a word with him, and we shouldn't be a problem. And then suddenly the other clubs are touching me, and then he heard, and he said, oh, it's not going to happen. My dead body, or you going elsewhere? And then got hold of Kaizer, and then the whole thing developed. But remember, at that stage, Mark was really at the last 1 or 2 years of his career. In fact, he was living in Durban, played for Kaizer Chiefs. So he was coming up every single week, training, going back to Durban, coming up, training, going back to Durban, and then staying for a prolonged period over the weekend when the matches were on. I did that initially when I first came. So then, yeah, I came and I joined Chiefs. But it took me a while to settle in Chiefs. It took me a good 6 months to really get, which is part of that process to be accepted. Fans and that getting to know you, and that's what you see now in the Chiefs players now. You can come and be a great player at another club, but how you mentally come and settle into the environment of Chiefs, because it can eat you up if you're not doing the right things. But then I settled down after 6 months, and then that was total bliss, total bliss for me.
Your highlight at that club? In fact, better yet, your highlight at Durban City, AmaZulu, and Kaizer Chiefs.
Durban City, I was very, very fortunate that as a young player, I won league championships, won back-to-back league championships. Should have won 3 in a row. Got robbed. We were 2-2 with Swallows if we in the league in 1984 went to Chiefs. They gave them a penalty in the last seconds of the game. I think Ace Nanini took the penalty. So that I had a good grounding. The next stage of my career could never replace it, AmaZulu. The traditional thing that went with it, that amalgamation into the culture of football in this country. And training when you got 5,000 people watching you just train, and going through, fortunately, taking the club into, because it was always a club that was fighting relegation. In, out, and that went through success. And then we were having 25, 30,000 every week watching us. And it was great for the club. And then, as you say, going into Kaizer Chiefs, my boy, when I was a professional, thought that's a club I want to play for in this country. Coming out of 1990, still not part of international football, getting the opportunity to come when it did with Madiba coming out of jail, and then getting an international opportunity, and then developing and solidifying my place in Chiefs, and then going on to captain Chiefs in 1992, and then just going through the whole decade of Chiefs was beautiful for me. Today I can't walk down. There's no time I walk down the street without somebody greeting and saying hi, and you just can't believe the beauty of that club. Beautiful to me. The Kaizer was very, very good to me, and the whole family has been good to me. Kaizer Chiefs family is good to me, and fulfilling that dream, and then being part of it at the age of 30, having international football for a short space of time. And in that short space of time, 52 caps and captaining the country. So I've been very, very blessed. So blessed.
There are 2 things the generations in my family are going to know, the generations to come that my family are going to know about you, is that you were a centre back that wore number 9 and your nickname was Mokoko. Let's start with the number. Why number 9 when you're sitting in the number 5 position?
Okay. When I first got to Chiefs, Mark Mangena was, not when I first got to Chiefs. In 1989, Mark Mangena wore number 9. When I got to Chiefs, I was playing in the midfield. I was not playing as a defender. So, and Mark Mangena then moved on. So the number 9 was available, because each, obviously, Ace and them wore their numbers, and Doc had his number and things like that. Scurra had his number. And the number just became available. And the club said, okay, well, the number 9's available. I said, take it. I mean, it wasn't that I couldn't score goals. I mean, I scored over 50 goals in professional for the league situation. So, but I was playing in the midfield. So number 9, I suppose I could get away with it. Yes, being a defensive midfielder, if you could term it that, but still scored goals. Had an eye for goals. Mokoko.
Where does that come from?
I think, obviously, it was the Chiefs fans and that identified me with, because I'm a Zulu, I was called Bikoko. okay, strutting, like a peacock in the middle of the midfield and things like that. Then had to identify kind of Chiefs with, there's so many different vocalizations and terminologies with that. And the one I know is a chicken, and always at the pecking on the floor, and the boss chicken or whatever. How they say it. Some people say it's a shack, and there's all the different terminologies to it. And so it was great, because that's what football's lost, a little bit of that identity of nicknames and stuff like that. And also I saw it as such an honor, because if you've been given a nickname, then it means you're doing okay for that team. Are you doing okay?
You've been accepted.
You've been accepted and you're doing okay. So I was extremely proud. And wherever I go now, people they say, hi, Neil. They go, Mokoko. Yeah, so great.
Neil, there's always been your Gavin Lanes. There's always been your Gavin Hunts. There's always been white guys in South African football, iconic white guys. There's been Grobler as well, Bradley's father. There are iconic white guys. But had you ever felt, especially with 1996, that you, just like Francois, became the token white boys? You became the symbol of what it is Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was looking for, that sense of unification, that there are talented white sports people here, and if there's one thing that brings a world together, it's sport. So we could go for any black captain. We could have gone with Chester Williams to show that South Africa is recognizing its black people. We could have gone with John Shoes Mushweu or Lucas Radebe where you're concerned, but these national teams went with you guys. Were you guys made to feel like a token white guy, or did you feel like that was an honor that you, again, I want to use the word for lack of a better reference, that was an honor you deserved. You worked for that honor.
Well, I'll just have to go back to say that, I was captain Chiefs. Chiefs weren't a white club. So obviously somebody had to see the value in my leadership. And Screamer did. I was fortunate that for the first game that Screamer saw my leadership qualities. He could have easily, like you say, he could have turned to any Steve Compella, anyone in that team. Not anyone, but another person in that team to lead. But obviously I showed those capabilities. It's not a case of just, he's a leader, so he'll be playing. He obviously had to give something back from a playing perspective too. And I always get asked this question, a captain, what does he need to do to be a captain? And my answer is that the captain has to be one of the most consistent players for that team. He doesn't have to be the best week in, week out, but he cannot be the worst week in, week out. He needs to be a person that other players can look up to say when are given instruction as a leader to carry out instructions, because they can always turn around to me and say, well, how do you tell me what to do when you're not doing it yourself? So consistency is the front word, is a leader. You have to have consistency in your approach to the game, approach playing the game. So you got to be up there with the best. Otherwise, it's difficult to give instructions. And I felt that I was more than capable. I mean, I've been a captain in not only in soccer, but all my other sports. So leadership has come through it, and I feel that's I always had that capability, and obviously it just wasn't for Bafana. I mean, I was captain Chiefs, one of the most successful teams in the country. So I don't think it was a kind of, here's a token for you, So
1995, we win a Rugby World Cup. 1996, it's your turn. You're hosting a major tournament. You need to kind of also live up to what it is Francois and the boys did. It's before the start of the Africa Cup of Nations. What are you and Coach Clive Barker and the boys talking about? What are you saying to each other?
I don't think we were talking about winning the trophy. Well, I didn't feel that way. I felt that we were very ignorant in what that tournament was about. I mean, we hardly even played in AFCON qualifiers, but we knew we had a generation of players that were starting to become really, really good as a group. We got away from that initial situation of Sundowns players, Chiefs players, Pirates players, you know. We were coming together as a group fundamentally very, very, very well. And if you remember, just prior in 95, we played in a Nations tournament, won it, played the best. We played against Argentina, drew with Argentina. They scored late, and then played Germany. So now you drew 0-0 with Germany and should have won that night too, with Klinsmann and all the players. So we then started to say, hey guys, those aren't small nations that we played there. Yes, we've got the ability to win the competition, but let's just take it one step at a time. Let's get through, because if you look at our group, Cameroon, Egypt, Angola, I mean, those are powerhouses on the African continent. Yeah, we newbies talk, you know, coming down this lane. And so it was, but what gave us so much more momentum was the opening game. I mean, who beats Cameroon 3-0 and absolutely gives them a heartache? And totally, that game is in total control in all aspects. And playing football of that magnitude, I mean, the goals were unbelievable. And what that did for the country, you were speaking about the Rugby World Cup. Yes, the Rugby World Cup brought the country together, but 10%.
Yeah.
The African Cup of Nations brought the country 100%. Farmers, white farmers were now knowing shoes and dock and, you know, not just Neil, Fish, whatever, Tinkler, whatever. The whole country came together. And so the momentum was gained. So we were, coming back to your question, we were talking about group stage. Let's make sure we consolidate, we win our group. We win our group, we stay here in Johannesburg. Altitude. Stay here, don't have to move around training fields, our camp, our base, our hotels. And that's exactly what we did. And then the momentum just gained from that. And it was an unbelievable time of our lives.
What are you then saying to one another the morning of the final? You're now here. You're now here competing for the competition in what has always been considered the mecca of South African football, that is FNB Stadium, Soccer City. What are you guys saying to one another at that time? Because I know usually when we talk to coaches, it's always at this point of a competition, when I get to the final, I say nothing. Because I can't motivate them any more than this. This has to motivate them. What are you guys saying to one another?
What we were saying to you, my message was, don't be complacent. This is a Tunisia team it's a young team. It was the Olympic team they actually brought. They then got through to the final, beating Zambia and all the likes. And, you know, we've done our hard work. Ghana's, Algeria's, the Cameroons, the Egypts. We got through all those stages. Don't start now coming to this final and thinking it's just going to happen. We've got to make it happen. The last thing is complacency there. So that was where the leadership had to come in with the group of players, that we haven't done it yet. We're right at the later stages because we did not have a clue how big it is, how big it was ever going to get. Only now when I sit 28 years or whatever later, do I know how hard it is to win that. That's one of the hardest trophies to win in international football, not African football. European, you know, where you have to go to qualify, where you have to, okay, well, there we hosted it, but we were far in our advanced stages of qualifying. But to win that trophy, you're going to Sudan's, you're going to Rwanda's, you're going, you know, and I'm not meaning them or belittling anything. You're going to hardships in Africa. You're not going to the lovely European countries and staying in hotels where 5-star, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hard work it is to win it. And now you look back and you say, well, with the likes of those players, the Bidi Peles, that were Ghana were laden with stars. Cameroon laden with stars in international football. Anthony Yeboah's, So, yeah, that's extremely hard. So, coming back to your question, complacent.
Yeah.
Don't be complacent now. We knew we had to manage the game very, very well. Strikers that were extremely quick, looking for space behind us, to the likes of that, and manage the game, and then eventually we'll wear them down with our quality and talent. Yeah.
With what you're just saying about the toughness of winning an Africa Cup of Nations, considering you have to traverse an entire continent. Sometimes you have to leave Africa to get into North Africa, by way of travel.
Yeah.
Because of that, do you find that over the last 3 decades, South Africans have been unfair on Bafana Bafana players of past generations, or that sometimes it has been justified when you consider the talent this country has produced? Stephen Pienaars, Pure Chabalala, Benny McCarthy, that there's been such amazing talent that at their peak, when they were winning Champions Leagues with Porto, they should have been winning the AFCON as well.
Yeah, I think we should have carried the momentum on. I mean, we had the next generation just after winning it. They were runners up, and then it just kept going. There was certainly opportunity there to go and win it again. Then that was for about 6 years. After 6, then we started to lose our way. And I think it was, as you say, a total mental, the talent was still coming through. I think mentally we just lost our toughness to go in there and to get cut, to get kicked, to go have rifles pointed at your head when you're training. That toughness.
Do you think it comes down to, at some point, I'm making so much money in Europe, that pride is overrated. Fighting for the badge is overrated. Fighting for this flag is overrated.
I can never talk for anyone else. I always saw it that way. I always saw my next game as my last. I had to prove it again. Doesn't matter how many games I had played. I had to prove again that I was going to play the next game and do well in that game enough to play again. So to talk for anyone else, even that was for Chiefs as well. That club, you've got to go through rock walls. You've got to go through hardship. Look, you don't have to treat it as though, don't care attitude. And the same for Bafana. I don't say people did. I think they kind of took it for granted a little bit. Sometimes.
Neil, who's the greatest coach that you've ever seen, either worked under or just witnessed from looking outside in? I'll be biased. I'll tell you me, and I'll be giving away my age. Peter Musimane, for me, there's nobody like him.
Yeah.
Considering perhaps some of the doubts that he may have experienced. But for you, when you look at coaches that you've seen, in your vast football career on and off the pitch, who do you think this country has produced as the greatest?
This country. There's different eras, and it's hard to compare eras with different eras because, Clive Clive was a successful coach.
Yeah.
He did it. He won championships, and then he won the AFCON. So you can't never take that away from Clive. And then people were saying, he's a motivating coach. Technical. You have to. How can you not be technical to win the AFCON? You've got to be able to think the combination you're going to put into place, and how you. Yes, he was very simple in his approach, which the game is sometimes simple. Gets complicated.
Do the basics right.
And then you add the value to and what you expect of the talent of Doc to do something phenomenal, shoes, to change the game and that. So that blend of a team, we have to have it. So obviously Clive had that to his bow, string to his bow. Pitzer obviously has a uniqueness that he is studious. He never leaves something for granted. He's 24/7 man, in the game. You know, the likes of Gavin Hunt to achieve what he's achieved as a coach with minnows sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, not just top teams. Yes, he didn't have a successful stint with Kaizer Chiefs, unfortunately. Sometimes, you know, with the teams that he's done well with, Gavin, he spent a season or two there to get but Chiefs is a different kettle of fish sometimes. And coaches are like horses for courses. They have the different environments where they are comfortable in. From an overseas perspective, Wenger brought something to the game, the English game, that was unique, changing it from this Tony Adams going out after the game to the pub and have a whole lot to drink, to no, you come in and you're eating the correct foods and applying a professional approach to the game and bringing in a whole new kitchen. The foods, what they eat is what you produce. So from Wenger's time into what he did, the Invincibles at Arsenal, to really now the Pep Guardiola, you know, I think he's so unique, Pep. Yes, people say he has unbelievable players, but he's selected. He's pinpointed them and brought them all together. And as soon as you get a team trying to counteract what he's producing, he comes up with another scenario, another way to play in different formations and different areas of the field. So, yeah, it's hard to say that is the greatest coach, and they all have their huge qualities, which I look to take, and I've always maintained it in where I came along as a coach, to say I'll take a little bit of Clive Barker, I'll take a little bit of Pitzer, take a little bit of Pep, Arsenal, you know, and go through and say how are they doing things, and that's what the best encouragement I can give to when I do these coaching things is to say, don't copy. Take what you see and they produce and change it to what you want to do as a coach, and just change it into your environment.
Some of the best players you've ever seen, played with, played against, wished you would have played with. Just if you can give me a little list of some of the best players. When you think football, these are people that really represent the true meaning of the beautiful game.
Professional, my brother Mark, without a doubt. You would not find a thorough professional. Obviously had talent and ability. Playing perspective, South Africa, Ace and Snoei, top. Joma, unbelievable ability. I mean, it's a pity that it was those times, you know, and that you couldn't see them in a World Cup, strutting their stuff. Doc Kamala, shoes, and now we're changing sort of generations and that. Played against Terry Henry, when he was even in his younger days with France. The Papetos, Brazils, and that, and Rivaldos and those guys. So yeah, fortunate enough to come through all the different generations, and who I looked up to as a youngster when I was really young. I was fortunate enough to watch a bit of Liam Brady. You know Liam Brady.
Yeah.
Left footer for Arsenal. Unbelievable, natural left footer. Watched the angles of his play, because I was playing in midfield then. So those type of players, but yeah, some really, really talented players. Ace Maninis, and, you know, they just roll off the tongue. I mean, you know, and fortunate to play with them.
And at a coaching level, some of the players that you really thought, you know what, the world is missing out on this one. Europe is missing out on this one by not buying them right now.
Well, obviously, I mean, I'm just trying to think who were there top of the list. Chukwu's and Nil there. I think Chukwu and them at Sundowns and that, and, you know, they were I mean, he was unbelievable striker, Chuku.
Yeah.
Because of his strengths, and he could have played, I believe, at ease in Europe, any of those leagues there. His partner in crime, Fatumba, you know, unbelievable ability with the left foot. Probably the game might have been too quick for him in an English league. He needed to go to other leagues, although he saw the game well enough. But maybe the quickness might have been a factor. Yeah, you know, playing with shoes in him. Yeah, I mean, his those players. I mean, you know, I was fortunate to play with and to be a part of coaching them as well.
Neil, what do you want to see for South African football going forward? Outside of the usual, we need to win trophies. We need to be playing at the highest level on the big stages. But as somebody that was responsible for playing his part in pathing a positive way for this country's football, what do you want to see for South African football in the near future?
I want to see our Bafana Bafana looked up as how the country are looking up at the box. And you got to earn that respect. You got to earn it. It doesn't just happen. And so that's one aspect. I want to see Kaizer Chiefs get back to where they belong. This country needs a good Kaizer Chiefs, a successful Kaizer Chiefs. To start, you need those derby matches and the big matches where Chiefs and the fans are coming back to watch Chiefs play, and the youngsters aren't putting on Man City shirts, Arsenal shirts. Don't say Man United at this stage. Liverpool shirts and that. You want them to go back to wearing the Kaizer Chiefs shirts and go back to the local shirts. And yeah, so one little bit of respect but you only earn respect by getting results.
Yeah.
So let's go qualify for the World Cup. Let's qualify for the AFCON. And I think that respect will give our fans that opportunity to go watch a World Cup in the States, wherever, and be there wearing the South African shirt and put back on the pedestal where it should be.
Just before I let you go, you scared us a couple of years ago. You scared us. You scared us so much. But you then also proved that you are incredibly tough and that you've been through far worse probably in your life, you know, than a health scare of that nature. How have you been? How have you looked after yourself since then? What are you doing differently to make sure that all these things you still want to achieve in your life, that your body and your mind still lets you?
Yeah, I've just, you know, obviously you have to rein back some of the time, because when that heart attack and when I died, I lost half my heart, lungs and all that. The capacities just went to half. So now I can't get on the bike and go and ride down the shores anymore. I've got to stay active. So I stay active playing golf. I actually do a lot of, I play bowls now. So there's walking and I do a lot of active. I stay active like that. Also the lifestyle too. I don't get too overcomplicated with it. Obviously the meds, I'm on special meds. So you gotta live that life. You gotta enjoy the life. And one thing it's the outlook of life is that, well, I don't concern myself of going to worry too much on my life anymore. You know, there are people that are, you really get to realize there's people that don't have food, don't have a house over their head, a roof over their head. Don't start moaning about your life. Get on and enjoy it now.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know when your last breath will be. You don't know when the last moment will be. So get on and enjoy your occasion and stop looking for faults in life. Get on there and enjoy it and it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But, you know, live the lifestyle that you want to live and give back that you want to give. And that's really, really important, and cherish moments in your life, you know, with your loved ones and that's really, really important because you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. Yeah. Thank you.
Neil, thank you so
very
much.
much. Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
This has been, a true honor. Thank you so much for joining
Thanks
us.
very much.
And all the best
Yeah.
with everything. Hope I can see you in a coach's dugout or at least back
Yeah,
in the
love
Safa
to.
house.
Love to be. Love to be giving body knowledge and
Yeah.
just from a technical point of view. Not trying to take over a coach's job. Just from a technical, giving support.
Neil, thank you so much.
Okay.
Really do appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mokoko, jersey number 9, right? You'd think he was a striker, but he did know how to hit a goal. He did know how to hit a goal. So at least we got that clarification as to why it is he was sitting so far back on the field wearing a number that usually is the guy that's up front. But yeah, Neil Tovey, former technical director of the South African Football Association, former AmaZulu coach, former Mamelodi Sundowns coach, former Bafana Bafana captain, former Kaizer Chiefs captain, a man that still today is the only captain to have won us an Africa Cup of Nations, but he will not be the last. That is exactly what he's telling you, that those boys, this generation and maybe the generation to come, will do it like he did back in 1996. This is a conversation, of course, that is absolutely iconic. It's one that you're going to want to watch over and over again. So make sure you're subscribed to Football Faras on all of our social media pages and check out, of course, this amazing conversation. It's not the last one we're going to have with a legend of this caliber. That's where we leave it, though, for this week.